Well, I guess you really you gotta stand for something and be known for something. You gotta put a stake in the ground and reinforce it in everything that you do. I think the best brands are consistent. I think they tell a great story.
Hey, welcome to the Leadership Loading Podcast. I'm Jason McClaren.
Hi, I'm Paige Arnof-Fenn.
Hey, Paige, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much for having me, Jason. I'm excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, so we were talking before we started recording, and of course we've talked before this, but Paige is all about digital strategy and digital branding, and so I wanted to bring her on the show today, and we talk about this because although we do have a lot of vets and veterans on here, I think as we transition into our civilian career or just trying to grow our civilian career, the digital branding is very important. And so we'll start off with that. So Paige, can you tell us what you're doing over there at
Sure.
what's your company, Mavens?
Mavens and Moguls, and we're a global branding and digital marketing firm that I started 23 years ago. Before this, I was in marketing at Procter Gamble and Coca-Cola. So I worked with a lot of military people there. They hire tons of people from the military who are very successful in big, corporate environments. So I did marketing in-house at big Fortune 500 companies. And then when the internet took off, I left my big corporate job at Coke and I joined an internet startup in Los Angeles. All right, try again. Sorry, I froze up. I don't know what
You're good.
happened. Um, then I did another startup as the head of marketing, and we went public and we got sold. So my first chapter was corporate marketing. My second chapter was startup marketing. And then 23 years ago, I hung out a shingle and started doing marketing independently, working with predominantly small businesses, but we also work with public companies and nonprofits. But the majority of my clients are like 2 million to 200 million in revenue. And we do anything a marketing department, ad agency, or PR agency does on an as needed outsourced basis. So we work with companies to really have the right words and pictures to tell their story online and offline. But as you and I were talking about before, if we learned anything during COVID, it's that if you don't exist online, you're invisible. And that is a really bad marketing strategy. You've really got to have a strong online presence so that people know who you are, know what you do, and that you could sell more of your products and services because that's how people build relationships today. So, I think a lot of people don't think of themselves as a brand. They say, I'm not Beyonce or LeBron James or Serena Williams or Taylor Swift. Like those people are brands. I'm not really a brand. I'm just a small business owner. I just work at a company. I've got my online profiles, but that doesn't really mean anything. Well, I totally disagree. I think everybody's a brand today. And I think the sooner people realize they are and think of themselves as a brand, the better off they're going to be personally and professionally.
Yeah, I think like you said, in COVID, everybody had to pivot. The obviously the restaurants pivoted to online ordering and pickup, and I was in healthcare at the time, and so we had to pivot to virtual visits and screening people. All the employees had to screen. We had to figure out how employees could log in remotely to do all their stuff, but it just that kind of just shows you the pivot that we had to do. And we saw a lot of companies that weren't online and didn't have an online presence are not around anymore because of that. I think also the companies that were already online and had a good presence, they've excelled, and you've seen that also in what they're doing. And then kind of with Go Heroes and Leadership Loading, we're all virtual. When I talk to people about what we're doing, they say, well, where's your office? And I said, well, we have like an office, but it's just for mainly getting mail and stuff. But everything else is virtual. We host meetings, conferences, webinars, and of course we rent space if we need it. But why waste overhead on that when we can do it all virtual?
100%. And in your own line of work how important your own online profiles are. Before people return your phone calls or want to meet with you or come to one of your events or be on your podcast, what do? They Google you, they check you out on LinkedIn, they see what platforms you're active on. And you definitely need to connect the dots for people and clean up well online. And if you have too much digital dirt out there, they're not going to want to have anything to do with you. So you gotta really be aware of how your appearance is online, what messages are out there, who you're connected to. People do a lot of back channel kind of investigations, like who do we know together online and what do those people say about you? And what are your posts, saying about you? What are your photos saying about you? And you don't want to spread yourself too thin, and you don't want to dilute the brand that you're trying to build. So it's really important for people to figure out what they want to be known for, what they want to stand for, and make sure that all those breadcrumbs that are out there tell a consistent story. You can't try and be one person on one platform and a totally different person on another platform. That is not a way to build trust and to build a following. And you want to make sure that when you pop up in somebody's inbox, that they're not dreading, hearing from you, that you're somebody who cleans up well, that you're known for being a really strong brand, and they want to associate with you. The biggest problem I see with a lot of people is they try and be everywhere and everything to everybody, and you really can't do that. If you want to be buttoned up and professional on LinkedIn, that's great. But if what you're doing on Facebook looks like you're a beach bum, or, you're always showing up in your bathing suit or Hawaiian shirt or something, that's not telling a very consistent story. And they need to know that every time you show up, what version of you is going to be there. So, I just encourage people, pick your platform. You don't need to be everywhere, but where you are, you want to have a really good image and be consistent. You don't have to start a blog. You can contribute to other people's blogs. If you start a blog, you got to keep it going and be consistent. If you're going to post a few times a week or once a week, that's great, but you can't post 3 times one week and then skip a month and then come back and do it once. That's really diluting your message, because you're telling people, I'm really flaky. You can't count on me. You never know when I'm going to pop up or what I'm going to say. Find those blogs that are in your industry, in your category, that are well trafficked. And you can just contribute to those blogs whenever you have something nice and important to say. Say it in a really articulate way. Put your signature bug in there. And that way, if people want to continue the conversation, they know where to find you. But if you're known as the person on that blog, every time Jason makes a comment, it's really smart. I agree with him. I think he raised the most important question, of the discussion. That's a great way to build your brand in a community where you operate. But, some people try and be very snarky on X, Twitter, and, snarky maybe gets people's attention, but that might not be the image that you want to have publicly. So you don't have to be on everything, but where you are, you want to be strong, you want to be consistent, and you want to build, a story so that when people meet you, know you, check you out, it's the same messages that keep popping up. What do you want to be known for? What are you really great at? And I think when people get that right, it can make a huge difference. So I hope by the time people finish listening to our discussion today, they go and check themselves out online. Do a Google search on your name or on your business and see what pops up. And if stuff is popping up that you're not happy with, you need to kind of, focus on your reputation management online and publish fresh content that has the right message, so it pushes down all the things that you don't like popping up. That's really important.
Yeah, I liked your take on the different platforms and that you have to be the same. I know some people, if you're maybe you're a solopreneur or a small business with 1 or 2 employees, they think, well, on Instagram and LinkedIn, I can be professional, but on Facebook, I can be myself, or, I can post politics or whatever. And that's fine if you're, maybe you have a private Facebook page or Facebook profile, but you want your page for your business to be the same brand, the same message as your Instagram and your LinkedIn and all that. You can separate your profiles out that way. I know a lot of people that have obviously different Instagram handles for their business and one for their personal, but you want to make sure people don't connect those two. Obviously, not bad, but you might be doing things on your personal. You want your kids and that sort of thing on there. Depending on what industry, and that may not be the people you want people knowing you have kids or that what your kids look like. So just making sure that they're private and that they're separate 100%. You don't want to follow your business page from your personal page and kind of give it away. And then I also have people that they've branded themselves. I see this more in the security or executive protection industries where they maybe have a pseudonym name on their profiles because obviously you don't want people knowing your personal business out there. So any feedback on those, or you agree with those takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, you raised being political online. Again, if you want to do that, that's fine, but you need to realize that probably half the people on your website don't agree with your politics, and that could end up affecting your business. So it's your decision. If you want to be political, that's fine, but be aware that you may offend people and you may be turning potential customers and clients away because they don't agree with your politics. So I just think people have to be very cognizant of the image that they have both online and offline. And as long as you're comfortable with that, you have to be authentically yourself. I think the best brands, the best personal brands are people that are comfortable in their own skin. And I think, we've all gotten very savvy about kind of connecting the dots and reading between the lines. And I think when people say things that they don't really believe in, or they post things just to be agreeable, or just, whether it's, different emojis or flags or sayings or hashtags, you know, you've heard of greenwashing, where people pretend like they're really into the environment, but then they take private planes and they drive cars that are, are gas guzzlers. But then they, like to pretend like they're real sustainability and green people, but they're not. The second they drive up in a Hummer or a big gas guzzling SUV, you go like, there's something inconsistent. That's a disconnect. That person's pretending to be something that they're not. And I don't think that flies today. I think if you say you're for certain causes, you kind of need to own it and realize you may be shutting some doors of people that aren't supportive of those causes, but the people that agree with you are going to double down and they'll probably be really happy. Um, but it's your call. But I always tell people I would steer clear of politics online. I'm registered independent, so it's pretty easy for me to be kind of middle of the road on that. I vote on the people, not the party. But I just think people have to be aware of the messages and the signals that they're sending. If you're posting articles or liking articles or retweeting posts, and they are taking a stance on an issue that might be controversial, you need to understand that a lot of people are seeing that and they may not agree with you.
Definitely. And so how'd you get started in your company there?
So I joke that I'm the accidental entrepreneur. If you had met me in school, I thought I wanted to be like Meg Whitman. I wanted to be a Fortune 500 CEO and run a big company all over the world. And that I'd come up through the marketing discipline. I would be very good in marketing, but I'd be able to be a leader and a manager that could inspire lots of employees and, put together a vision and a mission that would, build momentum and make the company really successful. That's the path I thought I was on when I was at Procter Gamble and Coca-Cola. And when the internet started taking off, I just got kind of enamored with the technology world. And it was like a shiny object I kept paying attention to. And I loved how fast paced everything was happening quick. And it was very scrappy and entrepreneurial. And I just got swept up in it. After the third startup I worked for got acquired and went public, I guess I hung out a shingle because, but right after 9/11, the economy came to a screeching halt and everybody canceled their marketing because they wanted to conserve their cash because the stock market had gone crazy and they were afraid they'd never be able to raise money again. So I hung out a shingle thinking I would just do a little consulting until things kind of got back on track. And like I said, I've never looked back. I love the independent lifestyle. I love the autonomy and the flexibility and the variety of clients that we work with and help. Um, I started my career in finance after college. And after 2 years, I went back and got an MBA and I switched into marketing and I've never looked back. Um, I love marketing. I think it's really important. The tagline of my company is because marketing matters. I really think marketing matters. I think the difference between, companies that kind of putter along and companies that thrive, as you said, a lot of places disappeared after COVID because nobody knew about them or they were just invisible. And I think, when you apply great marketing and they can just thrive and they can solve problems that people have and, make people happy. And I love being in marketing. I have a lot of fun doing it. I feel like it's very natural for me for my personal strengths. And I really enjoy it. I see the good that we've done for the clients we've worked with. Like I said, cross industries, categories, for profit, nonprofit. I love helping people find the right words and pictures to tell their story in a way where they can really help the world get better, be better. So, I came in maybe through the back door of marketing, but I love what I do, and I've been doing it now since 1990, so a long time. And I've done it for all kinds of organizations. I've done it, in a lot of different capacities as my day job. I've been on boards where I've been on marketing committees. So for me, it's something I love doing. I have fun doing it. And I feel like, if you've done it long enough, you get pretty good at it and you have a lot of great stories to tell and a lot of great businesses that are survivors because of it. I mean, I feel like, we survived the Great Recession and quiet quitting and COVID and all these ups and downs in the economy, and we're still here and we're thriving. So I think I'll probably be doing marketing for many years to come.
That's great. And if you had 1 minute to maybe an elevator ride to give a new leader marketing advice, what would you give them?
Well, I guess you really you gotta stand for something and be known for something. You got to put a stake in the ground and reinforce it in everything that you do. I think the best brands are consistent. I think they tell a great story and they're repeated constantly. You cannot stand for 10 different things. You can stand for like one or two things, and you need to make sure that everybody kind of knows what it is, why you are great, and that you own that real estate in your customer's brain. And if you do that and consistently reinforce it in everything that you do, it'll sink in. Um, and if you look at the great brands that have done that over time, once you earn the trust and build that relationship with your audience, they can grow with you. Starbucks started with just coffee. Amazon started with just books. They were the world's largest bookseller when they started their business, decades ago. And it's hard to even think about and remember now, but people didn't do online shopping back then. You put in your credit card, you ordered a book, and they sent it to you. And after people, could trust that that worked pretty well, then they started adding music. So then you could start buying music online. And then, so they kept earning your trust. And, today, when you think about it, you buy your groceries, you buy Amazon has everybody's credit card online. You're not even nervous about storing it with them. They basically have keys to your house at this point. They're delivering everything you need all the time. And look at Oprah. When she started, she was a anchor on the news, and then she started a talk show. And then the talk show led to a book club, and then she had Oprah's favorite things, and then she had a magazine. And you think about all those steps as she built her brand and built her audience and built her name. That audience came with her, and they trusted her because she did everything up into that point in a really consistent way, where it's like, oh, I want to be associated with that brand, with that person, with that business. And when you do it right, they come with you. So I would tell anybody new out there, put a stake in the ground, really do your homework, and tie it all together so that, when people find out about you, when they have a problem that your product or service can help them solve, that they think of you first. Because if you're invisible, you're nobody. And if you don't have a brand, you're a commodity. And commodities compete on price. So that's not a very good business model, because you're just going to be the cheapest, and you can't really make money doing that. People pay a premium for brands. They do not pay a premium for generic. So you really do need to think about you and your business. Your organization needs to be a brand so that you can stand out, you can be remembered, and that people think of you when they need your help.
Well, Paige, how can people get a hold of you or your company if they wanted to chat with you about marketing some more?
Sure. There are two good ways. My website, mavensandmoguls.com. It's mavensandmoguls.com. And the second place is on LinkedIn. I know you and I are connected. On LinkedIn, you can see my last name is hyphenated. It's all smushed together on LinkedIn. So it's PaigeArnoffenn. And as one of my clients always says, when she forgets, because my last name's hyphenated and my company name has an ampersand, she's like, I can only remember Paige and Mavens. So if she goes to Google and puts in Paige and Mavens, I pop right up. So that's always good about search engine optimization. You can find me there too.
Awesome. And we'll put the links in the show notes below so people can find you even easier.
Thank you so much, Jason. It's been awesome talking to you today.
Thank you.
There are thousands of leadership and management podcasts to choose from. We're glad you chose the Leadership Loading Podcast, a Go Heroes production. If you'd like to support Go Heroes Inc., visit www.goheroes.org. And with that, it's time to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for listening. We sincerely hope you liked it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your family and friends. Let's all grow together. Thanks for listening to the Leadership Loading Podcast. Leadership Inspired.